The music industry has changed drastically over the past few years, so the way that you release music should have changed also. So in this video, I'm going to outline to you the best release strategy used by the most successful artists in the world, which will mean your music reaches a wider audience and gets the exposure it deserves. There have been some major changes to the music industry. The way that we consume music, the way that music is put out, the way that artists become successful, yet a lot of musicians are still releasing music in the exact same way that you used to 20, 30, 40 years ago. And it just shouldn't be the case. If you want to succeed in music, your release strategy should be fitting to the everyday music consumer. It should be fitting to your target audience. So in this video, I'm going to outline to you the best strategy for releasing music, meaning your music gets the exposure it deserves. This strategy means getting the best streams you possibly can, growing your fan base to as big as you possibly can, and exploiting every single release. Because there's no point releasing music in the wrong way, because it means that the music you're creating is basically pointless. It's falling on deaf ears. And if your music is good, that's such a waste. I see far too many musicians not following this release strategy, releasing their music completely wrong, and then their music is just flopping and they don't understand why, and it's so frustrating because there are so many talented musicians out there that aren't getting the streams, the exposure that they deserve. So if you don't want that to happen to you, if you want your release to get that exposure, get that growth, then follow this release strategy video and you will find your next release to be your most successful one. To know the best way to release music, you need to look at music consumption. How has it changed? How is it now currently? In the past, they were doing exactly the same. The major labels, the successful artists, they were looking at how people were taking in music and then releasing music accordingly. So there was CDs, there was vinyl, there was tape. And if you were a musician, you would release like that because you knew that was how people would consume it. And if you were a musician then, you would release using those strategies because you knew that people listened to music on CD or on tape or on vinyl. But now, in this digital era, music is consumed in a completely different way. Digital streaming platforms are the main way for people to listen to music. So you've got Spotify in the UK being the leading digital streaming platform, but in the US, you have Apple Music. Both are still streaming platforms. They're a digital way for people to take in music and not really pay for it. It's a monthly subscription, and some people don't even pay that. They do it for free, so they have to listen to adverts. So do you see how that's changed? In the past, you would make an actual physical product and people would pay for that. But now it's clicking a button and they don't have to pay. You might find this extremely frustrating because you might find that Spotify don't pay you enough, Apple Music don't pay you enough, people don't listen to full albums, people don't care about your music, but that's not true. This digital era is honestly the best time for emerging artists because this time, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, you wouldn't have even been able to release music. To get into the studio, to get someone to make a physical CD, vinyl, tape, and then get it into stores was close to impossible for emerging artists. You had to be signed to a major label to get it made and then get it put into stores. And if you weren't signed to a major label, you had to have a lot of money. So there's no point complaining about it. And if you honestly feel like they don't pay you enough and digital streaming is ruining the music industry, pull your music off it. And if you do that, I promise you, I hand on my heart, promise you, that your music won't reach the audience that it deserves. We've seen artists do it. You've seen some of the most successful artists in the world do it. Taylor Swift, she didn't want to put her music on Spotify because she said it didn't pay enough. Literally 6 months later, she put it on because she saw there was an audience that she was missing out on. There's also more money for emerging artists because, as I said, you in the past couldn't just get a CD made and put it into stores. But now you can make music in your bedroom, you can pay a couple of pounds to get a distributor to upload it to Spotify, and then you have the chance of reaching millions. I have worked with artists that have done this. I have worked with artists that on their debut release, they got on Spotify editorial playlists, they got millions of streams, and they made thousands and thousands of pounds from basically just uploading to the platform. So I promise you, it's an amazing thing for the industry. But let me know your opinion on it because I still want to hear the different sides of the argument. Make sure to comment your point of view on Spotify, on Apple Music, on all digital streaming platforms because I'm keen to know. So let's start with where should your music actually be available? I've mentioned Spotify, I've mentioned Apple, but what else? Well, I would recommend uploading to basically any platforms you possibly can. If you go with a distributor like DistroKid, CD Baby, TuneCore, there are packages which mean they basically upload to all of them. So your music will be on Deezer, it will be on Pandora, it will be on Apple Music, it will be on Spotify, it will be on YouTube Music, and the list goes on. But also suggest that you upload it yourself to SoundCloud and to YouTube because the more platforms you're on, the more chances you've got of being discovered by new fans. And it's easier than ever. You can pay a distributor to do this for you. And Alex has actually done a video on this. He's done a video on which distributors to use, which are the best and why. So I'll make sure to link that below. So you know which platforms to upload to, and you know why. But how should you be releasing it? What format should you be releasing it in, and what should go alongside it? Well, the best release strategy, and the strategy that I'm going to explain to you, is singles. Singles are the strongest release strategy in this digital era. In the past, albums were the best. Albums were the best way to sell to the consumer because they were paying for a physical CD, so they wanted their money's worth. They wanted a full album. Because if you're paying £10 for something, you don't just want a single, you don't just want 3 tracks. But now, people don't buy physical CDs. People aren't listening to music like that. They're listening through digital streaming platforms. So why would you release a full album? Singles are honestly the best way forward because you can release as often as you possibly can because it doesn't take as long to create. You can take advantage of the promotional tactics, which I'm going to explain in a second. And you've also got people's attention. The reason I say attention is because the attention span has dropped massively. People are so used to taking in 5-10 second content on social media. So investing nearly an hour of their time on an album is a lot to ask for someone. Unless you're a massive fan of an artist and you've dedicated all your time to getting to know them, listening to previous material, you're not probably going to listen to a full album of an artist. So singles are the best way forward. And I mentioned that you can be taking advantage of promotional tactics. So let's go into that further. So Spotify is designed in a way where it will get your music and push it out to an audience as a bit of a test. They'll see what the reaction is. They'll look at the save rate, they'll look at the skip rate. And if it's successful, they'll push it out to more people. And if it's not successful, they'll stop. So the only way you can really take advantage of that is via a single, because if you get a whole album, they're not going to push out the whole album to a Discover Weekly playlist, the top recommendations. They're a lot more likely to push out a single. So you're wasting the other material. You've got a 10-track album, one of them gets 50,000 streams, all of the others get below 10,000, and you could have instead released all of those as singles and got the streams that they deserved. This is the same for blogs, this is the same for radio. If you're pitching to these people with a full album, and they don't really know who you are, you don't have that compelling of a press release, they're not going to invest that much time into listening to it. They're a lot more likely to review, feature, play a whole single rather than a whole album. A lot of you might be saying, an album is a piece of art. I have to tell a story throughout this album, and yes, I completely agree. I believe that when you listen to an album, you are taken on a journey, but you can take people on that journey over a longer period of time. And now you can actually use different ways to do that outside of the music as well. Some of the most successful ways of putting out music is also putting alongside that music visuals. So that visual could be graphics, that visual could be quotes, that visual could be a video. You can tell a story a whole lot better if you're putting out content alongside that single release. And it also means you have more material to work with. So instead of releasing one album a year, you've got singles to last you the whole year, which means you're putting out constant content to your audience, so they're always going to stay engaged. And of course you don't have to release singles for the rest of your life, but the only way that you can release a full product, a full album, a full EP is if you have the attention, if you have an audience that are going to invest that time. And after multiple singles, you might find you've got that. We've worked with plenty of artists before who've released 3, 4, 5, a handful of singles. It's got picked up really well, and they put those singles into a full album, released that album, and got the exposure it deserved. It doesn't matter what your genre, it doesn't matter what level you're at, singles are the best way to release your music, and on digital streaming platforms, the best way to get it out. I know I'm going to get comments on this saying, well, Drake released an album, Adele released an album, but the difference with those people is they have the attention. I've mentioned this quite a lot of times throughout this video, that you need people's attention to release full products. And that's because investing that amount of time in an artist is a big deal. I can't think of many artists in the past few months that I've listened to a full album from them. And if I have, it's because I've already been an existing fan. So yes, Drake has released an album, and yes, Adele released albums before, but they have dedicated fans that will invest that time. And you soon will too, but you need to start off releasing singles, building your audience until you're at a point where they're so dedicated, they're literally begging for an album. I also know that this release strategy is used by major labels. We're working with Universal Music, we're working with Sony at the moment, and both of them are working with artists that have huge followings. They have over 500,000 followers on Instagram, another has over 2 million streams on one track on Spotify, and they're still releasing singles. They're not even talking about releasing an album. And it's the best way to do it. There's proof of it. But if you disagree, let me know. You can comment below, or you can find us on Instagram. You can bombard our DMs, because I want to hear all about it. This release strategy is going to stay this way for years. I don't know how it's actually going to change, because the mindsets of people, their attention span, it's small, and digital streaming platforms don't look like they're going anywhere. The only way they can is if these major label artists, the ones that are taking in so much money from it, ask for more money, or they pull their music completely. And I just don't see it happening. But I'm not a mind reader. I don't know what these people are thinking. I don't know what the future holds, but I can see this release strategy lasting for years and years and years. I hope you found this video useful. I hope that you feel like you can follow this release strategy and get the results that you want to. And if you found this video useful, even the smallest amount, make sure to hit that like button. And if you haven't joined the community yet, make sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on that bell so you're notified when we upload. And we'll be back soon with more music marketing advice.